trying to answer back. They've had a couple of chunk plays with a nice little rush. They went for a big passing play over the middle of the field for number 89, Stephen Godfrey. And so far, these slot receivers have really posed some problems for this Portsmouth defence. And they come out now in spread with running back to the right, sending receiver in motion across to create a trips left look, hand the ball off on an outside zone run to number 48, Harvey Macy. He's able to get outside the box, and he's able to get what looks like a first down. And even though Portsmouth were able to answer back, Rushmoor's offense coming out once again, looking explosive, getting some plays down the field. As Kwame searches for a custard donut, we will stay focused on the field here, as hopefully we don't glitch out or anything. I was wrong. It was not a first down. We're looking at 2nd and 1, and the offense coming out. Trips left with trips into the boundary, leaving number 12 Alex Wyatt all alone out on the right-hand side, sending number 81 Matthew Ricard in motion as they hand the ball off once again to Harvey Macy. This time he's not able to get the yardage he'd previously gotten, as he's tackled down a couple yards back, looking at about third and 3 or so here. And this Portsmouth defence is punching back after a couple of bad plays that... Apologies, gents. I'm getting very confused here as my help is... My help Kwame is he had a practice today, bless his soul, and clearly he needs some nutrition to get himself right after those intense Solent Thrashers Premiership practices.
Very intense, the most intense in the country.
And incomplete there as the quarterback rolls out, trying to find his slot receiver once again, but not able to complete there, and setting up 4th and 3. It would look to be about, I would guess, a 40-yard field goal if they were to attempt one, but it looks like they're leaving their offense on the field.
Seem to have noticed a bit of a trend here with Rushmoor offense. Get a big chunk play first down, lose a few yards 2nd down, maybe do the same or throw an incompletion 3rd down, brings up 4th and mid. You know, it just seems to be, can they break the chain and get those 5 yards that they need here?
This quarterback looking for a gap up the middle to escape, as he didn't like any of his passing options, and we will see where he's spotted. He's got a lot of words for the Portsmouth defence after the play, and they have not given him the yardage. It will be Portsmouth ball, turnover on downs, as he couldn't quite get enough for the first there. And so the Portsmouth offense coming out on the field here, scored on the last drive. The defense was able to stop them, so now they're getting the ball back just ahead of the 20, down a couple of scores going into the half. This could be a really big drive if they're able to close the game to 1 point, and then equally, if Rushmoor get the ball back already up 2 scores going into the second half, the game could look a lot of different ways here.
Portsmouth just have to protect the ball at this moment in time. They just have to move carefully down the field, be cautious with the time that we have left, and the time that they've got, obviously still got 2 timeouts.
And so they hand the ball off, number 37, Samir Hassan, back in. He is tackled down there by number 54, making a big play again. He's been great swarming from sideline to sideline, trying to get involved in the run game. Portsmouth offense looking to move with a little bit of tempo, I think. Probably aware that the 2-minute warning should be coming up not too long. And they hand the ball off again, this time looking for a lane up the right-hand side.
Back to 37 again.
And he rumbles and stumbles forward for a first down. He's been really impressive so far. Ball carrier vision and playing through contact seems to be a couple of strengths from him.
I think he's been the strongest weapon so far for the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. He's been the only real threat when things aren't going well for them. He's been the one they can sort of rely on. The problem is if he gets overworked and overused towards the end when they really need him.
And this time they find number 85 out on the sideline, able to make a nice little catch there. And that is... That man doesn't have a name, apparently, according to our roster. He does not. He does not have a name. So we will call him number
Pedro.
8. We will
Call him Pedro.
All right, Kwame has named him Pedro. Number 85, if you want to correct us after the stream, feel free to do so. But for now, you are Pedro, my friend. As they look to find their receiver out on the side there, number 27. And he's able to move the chains, setting up first down inside Rushmoor territory. And they've looked quite convincing on this drive now that they've been able to get the outside passing threat going a bit more.
Definitely, Portsmouth look a lot more confident now. It looks to me that they've warmed into the game. They've had their period of not having their marbles, not having their bearings together.
And I like the formation that they've moved into, where they've got trips to one side and they've just got the tight end on his own on the other. It kind of, you know, you've got to rotate your passing strength to the left, but you've also got to keep gap sound to the right-hand side, knowing that they could be a threat in the run game with all the different ways that they can potentially get the tight end involved in the blocking scheme.
Definitely. Sorry to cut you off. One more important thing is understanding, being able to adjust during the game. You know, Rushmoor or whoever's on defense is always going to come out with intentions of stopping the offense. That's just bread and butter, you know. So being able to adjust and see what they offer, and being able to adjust towards that or against that will give you a good advantage. Now, we've seen that Portsmouth are able to adjust here. We've just hit the 2-minute warning, so they're in good hands here with time. They're probably going to look to chew as much of the clock down and put a score on as late as possible rather than giving Rushmoor the opportunity to get the ball back. But they've got a good amount of time here. It's 2nd and 10.
It would be a very tough ask for them to go and get the 2 scores that they'd need to be comfortable, given that Rushmoor get the ball back. But they'll have to rely on their defence when they come out in the second half, as they try and run the ball here to gain the yardage. Not quite able to, as they only get maybe a yard, setting up 3rd and 9. Probably want to take your time here. They've still got 2 timeouts, I believe. Quite a bit of time left. We have had the 2-minute warning, but the clock obviously didn't run on that last play, as it wasn't a completed pass. So 3rd and 9 with the clock running. Quarterback looks down the field, setting up the running back screen. Does a much better job this time. Number 37 able to make the completion, but he's tackled, as looks like they tried to set up a screen, but the blockers couldn't quite get out ahead of him. And so now it will bring up 4th and 3.
Seemed to me like there was a little bit of space on the outside there. He could have got outside and stopped the clock, but he's gone inside. He's got the extra few yards as he was dragged down. It took a few yards to bring him down, and this is a big business play here. As
they come out with tempo, they hand the ball off to their workhorse, Samir Hassan, and he is tackled down, not able to get the first down yardage. And it looks like number 47, Josh Wickens, comes up with the play for Rushmoor there, as they will have the ball back with a handful of timeouts to try and move the ball down the field. And we talked about what sort of a different game it looks like, whether it's a 2-score game going into half-time compared to a 1-score game, given that Rushmoor will obviously be getting the ball back. Game looks incredibly different if they manage to go and put some points on the field and now can't get the ball back in the second half with a 3-score lead.
Just stole the words out of my mouth. I was about to say, they'll get the ball back for the second half. So if they can put a score up here, they can almost count a game over at this point. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they do try to get the ball down there, or if maybe they just try to give their kicker a bit of a...
Well, they're dropping back, looking out to the left, looking to make a big play early on, and not quite on the same page with his receiver as he looks to throw it outside the numbers, with the receiver sort of stemming inside and not able to get out to where the ball was thrown. But early signs that they will be aggressive on this drive and looking to get some points on the board rather than just sitting on their lead and taking it into half-time intact.
Definitely. I think they've seen how Portsmouth were able to put up a score on that previous last drive. And they're going to look at that and think Portsmouth, at any given moment, you know, this game can turn on its head. You know, if they were to throw a pick 6, it would completely flip the game around.
So they hand the ball off this time to number 30 as he rushes straight through the heart of the defence, met by a safety over the top who's able to stop him from taking it to the house. But very big warning signs on for the Portsmouth defence. That just because we may be in some more passing situations on this drive, it doesn't mean we can switch off. We still got to be able to rally to that football on the inside.
Definitely. I think it would do them good if everyone's rallying to the ball. I mean, yes, it's tiring when your defense is on the field the whole time, the majority of the time, but you know, it really is going to stick it to the offense and really going to start to put something together if they can. They can really establish these stops and stop Rushmoor from getting these big chunk plays.
And so we've had the timeout. Referees just chatting, getting ready to play again. And interesting that currently Portsmouth showing press on receiver number 6, but playing some cloud coverage or playing backed off on the far side, given that they've been trying to look for number 6 deep on the outside, but he's jammed off the line of scrimmage. Flag is thrown. Quarterback looking to try and scramble to make some yards, and he's forced out of bounds. Doesn't get much yardage there. I'll be interested to see what the flag is on. I think it may be defensive holding or something of the like, but we will see what the call is.
Be a free play for them.
And they've called offside there, so it'll be 1st and 5 for this Rushmoor offense. I believe they've got maybe 1 timeout left, maybe 2. Not a lot of time would likely be left on the clock, so they will have to work with some speed if they want to put the ball into the end zone. Handing the ball off here to number 30 going up the middle. And the ball apparently is loose. Portsmouth players signalling for possession.
Maybe a first down to somebody, because it looked like Rushmoor had the yards for the first down, so...
And so Rushmoor will be charged with a timeout. Appears that they are not saying that there was any change of possession, so Rushmoor will continue to have the ball. And the first down is signalled as well. So Rushmoor will have a first down inside the Portsmouth 40. Not sure of how long is left on the game clock, but there won't be much time left as we're inside 2-minute warning, and I believe all the timeouts have been burned. 37 seconds are left on the game clock. So
Rushmoor have 1 timeout left.
Couple of punts at the end zone for Rushmoor here. We should be expecting, right?
Yeah, a couple throws here, potentially. Maybe time for 1 more run play. They're able to maybe give it out, but I would give a bit more variation. I'd run a couple pass plays first, see if they can get a few yards.
Would you be looking to set, so you've got a run and you've got a timeout in your back pocket, would you be thinking that maybe you want to run early, get yourself a little bit closer to maybe start taking those shots at the end zone, or would you keep that run in your back pocket so when you're a bit closer to the goal line, but maybe try and throw some passes sort of getting out of bounds quickly?
They're on the 40-yard line now, and they've got 37 seconds left. I would go for a pass at this moment in time. I haven't seen their kicker, but I think it all depends on what he can do.
And so look out to the left, looking for their slot receiver. Incomplete pass, not always the worst thing here. It's probably better to have an incompletion and keep more time left on the clock than to get not enough yardage as much as you need and be tackled in bounds. So only a couple of seconds ticking off the clock there. 2nd and 10 as couldn't quite connect with Stephen Godfrey there. So what do you think?
About 33, 34 seconds left maybe. Coming out 2nd and 10. You're up 2 scores. There really isn't much pressure. They haven't rotated anyone. It doesn't seem to be no one really significant.
So they hand the ball off inside this time to number 30, running behind the back of his guard, not quite able to break out the box again. But he is able to get a great chunk of yardage to make it about 3rd and 3, I think we'll be looking at once the chains have got themselves set up. They do call a timeout. There's about 30 seconds left on the clock, so no timeouts now. 3rd down. And feeling the winds that is blowing across, it's unlikely that we will have a field goal kick. So Rushmoor are going to have to try and get out of bounds if they get a playoff to try and have a shot at the end zone here. So Rushmoor coming out in spread to try and get the conversion on 3rd and 6. And the quarterback's rolling out to the left, looking for a target down the field. He finds a slot receiver into his hands with enough space for him to have got out of bounds to stop the clock, but the ball does not get caught. And so we'll be looking at 4th and about 6 yards or so. What would you do here?
I think if I'm Portsmouth, I'd just be thanking the Lord that that receiver has trampolines for hands, because that was just straight into the basket and straight out. I don't know how that happened. So you'll just be hoping in this 4th down that they they've kept the offense out. I think just stick to your guns, just go for it. I would probably not send max pressure, given what happened last time on 4th down, given what Rushmoor did.
And so they shift the running back to the other side of the formation, and a timeout is going to be called by Portsmouth here, just wanting to get a look at how Rushmoor would come out and maybe make some adjustments to what they're going to do on the defensive side of the ball on what is a big 4th down. If they're able to make a play here and go into half-time with a 2-score game, as we discussed, very different to if it's a 3-score game. So what have you thought of this half of football so far? Any maybe we'll discuss after this 4th down as we send the viewers off to half-time very shortly. I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts on how you think this game has been going back and forth so far. Not being privy to have watched the first encounter between them, get a fresh set of eyes opinion on these two teams. But first, before that, we will have 4th and 6 coming up as the quarterback takes a snap, drops back, looks out to his left, looking for number 6 over the middle of the field, and he makes a catch on that big post, and he is in for a touchdown to Portsmouth. That is number 2, Calvin Stitt, with his 4th passing touchdown of the game to Travis Carpenter down the middle of the field, busting coverage there, and now looking at a 3-score game going into half-time, bar a big return from the Dreadnoughts, and just seems to be a miscommunication in coverage back there.
Let's not forget Rushmoor get the ball back in the second half, right? That there was just as we spoke of earlier, right? Portsmouth trying to get the ball down the field, trying to get it down to 1 score. And we said, right, you don't want to give Rushmoor the opportunity to get down the field and put up another score. And they've done exactly that. You know, with Portsmouth having the ball in good field position with 2 minutes to go, a minute and a half to go, you'd think, you know, they've done enough to get into the half. But Rushmoor have just shown their strength and potency as they go for this 2-pointer here. Stitt rolls out and throws it incomplete.
And so he's unable to come up with it there, and Rushmoor will now be kicking off to Portsmouth. Very little time left on the clock, so unlikely we will have a substantive drive here. Only chance to sort of put a score on the board and change the scoreline going into half-time will be through a return, you would expect. And just to confirm, that score is 26 to the Rushmoor Knights to only 6 to the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. So 20-point game going into half-time, more than likely. But we will see what happens on this play here. We've seen some suspect kicking from both teams, with a kick going out of bounds and some very short kicks from the Rushmoor Knights. So it will be interesting to see what kind of return we get here.
Be interesting to see what Portsmouth can do now, returning the ball here, now having conceded the 4th score in that time, in that space, having felt so near yet come so far. You know, it just felt like they were going to score, and all of a sudden, other teams gone back down the field and scored really quickly. Are they going to still have their heads? Have they lost their heads? How are they feeling? How is the halftime talk going to be? How is the mood in that camp? That's the main thing, and that's going to really show us sort of what they're made of and if they're able to come back now. And
so the ball is kicked away. It's recovered by caught by number 34, who steps out bounds about the 22-yard line. So barring something very surprising, that likely will put an end to the chances of any points going on the board in the rest of this first half. And we will not get any plays from this Portsmouth offence to end the half, as the time has expired. So that is the end of the first half. 26-6 is the scoreline in favour of the Rushmoor Knights against the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. So Kwame, what have been your thoughts? Let's sort of maybe break it into a couple of chunks before we sort of pause for the half-time break. So in terms of the Portsmouth offence against the Rushmoor defence, what are your thoughts on those sides of the balls there?
I think Portsmouth can take some pride in the fact that there's been some bright sparks so far in the offence. Overall, they haven't been able to really put everything together. You've seen on a few drives they're able to get some good runs, and some drives they've had some good passes, but they just need it all to come together on one drive. You know, they had the score from the short field position, But you know, we've seen some talent with number 27, number 37. They've got some guys who, in space, can do a bit of damage. Now, the problem is getting the ball to those guys in space. A lot of the time where those guys have the ball, they're completely swarmed by defenders. That's because Rushmoor know who the danger guys are. They know who they can take care of. They know who they need to cover doubly, triply, or whatever. And it just seems to be a difference in Rushmoor being able to get the ball to their talented guys in a bit of open space, being able to get guys open over the top. And that's one thing that Portsmouth haven't done. We haven't seen them really take anyone over the top. You know, we've seen 2 big passes over the top from Rushmoor, and Portsmouth really need to be able to lean on what they can do. They need to be able to run the same plays with different guys in, because I've seen that their starters can put some damage on to Rushmoor, but you know, when these guys come out of the game, these guys will get tired, they'll get beaten up. You know, we need to be able to see other guys putting up the same sort of numbers and putting up the same scores and the same big plays that the starters are doing, because it's a game of numbers at the end of the day.
And what have you thought about the Rushmoor offence versus the Portsmouth defence battle? Obviously, the points say that it's been a successful game for them, but have there been any cracks in the Rushmoor offence at all? Is there any sort of signs of life for the Portsmouth defence in that battle?
Yeah, I would agree with both of those, to be honest. We can see probably the score, I would say, paints a pretty accurate picture of how strong both teams' offences are in comparison to defence. I don't know if you guys can hear that cheering in the background, but there's been a rugby match in the background, and there's been a lot more cheering on this sideline here. But yeah, Rushmoor have definitely shown their dominance in the trenches. They've shown that they're able to take advantage of the mismatches that we've seen in the skill positions. I do think that there have been some opportunities for the Portsmouth defence to take the ball away, some opportunities of busted runs, missed blocks and whatnot. I think Portsmouth just need to take advantage of the little mistakes that Rushmoor are making. You know, they're much more efficient as an offence, Rushmoor, but they're not perfect, and it's very difficult to be perfect as an offence. So I think Portsmouth needs to just stay confident that they are able to take advantage of those mistakes. However, that being said, with that minute to go, Portsmouth really having the opportunity to bring themselves back into the game, not being able to convert on 4th down, and then being able to, just being completely opened up on one play. It's going to really put a stinger in their mood, as you can see some of their players walking over to the corner. The mood is definitely more positive in Rushmoor's camp. And if they were to let this go from now, it'd be a monumental collapse. But Portsmouth can still play for their pride. They can still play for keeping the game as tight as possible. You know, they can still come back into this if they're able to put things together. You know, it just seems to me that Rushmoor are really just dominating where it matters.
And so we will see if Portsmouth can mount a comeback attempt when we come back after the half-time break. Portsmouth will be kicking the ball off to Rushmoor, where we will find out if they will throw in a surprise onside kick to start the second half, or whether it will just be business as usual and Rushmoor's offence will have the ball to start the half. And we will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes. So go kick your feet up, go and make yourself a drink, all of that fun stuff, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Cool. Welcome back to the second half of this game between the Rushmoor Knights and the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. Just after the second half kickoff here, Rushmoor have the ball and it's 1st and 10. They've got the ball just around about the 35-yard line. It's currently 26-6. And it's 1st and 10. Here comes the Rushmoor offense. Now, Calvin Stitt takes it, hands off to the left. The running back's going to not get anywhere. He's not got any space to go. He's going to get brought down around about a line of scrimmage, and that brings up 2nd and 10. Second and 10 now, trips to the left. Stitt hands off to a running back who tries to find a crease up the left, and it's the same result again. Maybe he loses a yard potentially, and that's going to bring up 3rd and long. Good start here so far from the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts defense. Good start so far. They've made 2 stops. They've had a run that went for nowhere and another run that went for a sort of a loss of a yards. And that brings up maybe a long 3rd and 10, maybe 3rd and 11 if we're calling generously. Stitt rolls out to his left now, looking for a receiver, throws one deep, has number 6 open, and a flag comes out there.
Yeah, and you could see that, you can understand why that flag was thrown. You could see that the receiver was unable to bring both hands up to the ball as his arm was being held down by the DB. And it's understandable why he might commit that penalty, given that he has been burnt over the top a couple of times. But yeah, as a defence, you've really got to be a little bit frustrated at this point, as it feels like there's nothing you can do to stop them from attacking deep whenever they want.
In football one may call that a tactical foul. So that would be either giving up the 6 or giving up the flag, you know, and I think that's a tactical decision from the Portsmouth defender. So just give up the flag, let them live to fight another day, and we'll see what their defense can do this time. Because he was dead and beat. The defender was dead and beat, and he had to make that foul at the end of the day. He had to do something to stop that catch from being made.
And I do think this Portsmouth defence is a bit worried about this Rushmoor offence. It sounds like they maybe don't have a lot of different adjustments in the playbook to be able to make, so it is very personnel based. So we'll see if they'll be able to maybe not make any adjustments as much, sort of toughen up and really kind of take it to their matchups to maybe prevent the Rushmoor offence from having the success they found earlier on in the game.
We've got to find ways of stopping the Rushmoor Knights where they do the most damage, you know. One of those is down the outside again, and that's the 3rd time they've managed to get something out of it. If that wasn't, as we said before, if it wasn't a touchdown, if it wasn't the flag, it was a touchdown, you know. And they've been able so far. Now another 2nd and 10, which is another no-game play, as Stitt throws out to his right, and that's incomplete, just out of the, just a bit too far for number 81. Ricard is his name?
Yeah, Matthew Ricard there, and I like what I saw from the defence there. As you see that outside backer, number 2, he was able to flare out to try and get involved in breaking up the RPO. And I think when you look at the structure of this Portsmouth defence, where they're in a position where they've got those outside backers tight down to the line of scrimmage to try and stop the run, but being able to come out and play the flats as well is important. As he looks for a receiver down the field, he manages to get the ball to Stephen Godfrey, number 89, and it looks like he does just about get a 1st down, and they're back to moving the chains.
Definitely got those chains moving again, and it just looks like a bit of a nervy start to start the drive from Rushmoor. They got the lifeline with the flag. You know, they didn't quite get down to where they would have been around about the 10-yard line or so, but they got the lifeline there, and they're just starting to get a bit more confidence back and starting to move the ball down those chains. As Kelvin Stitt here lines up for, he has a free play here. He's going over the top, and that's going to be incomplete, but that is not going to matter because they're going to get the ball back, and they're going to get some free yards here.
And I think as a defence, you saw that they were able to adjust where they tried to run that freeze quite a few times early on in the first half, and they sort of realised it, and they stopped jumping and giving away those free plays. But you know, they've come out in that second half. They've got all of the coaching points and all the adjustments in their head that all of their coaches have been giving them through that break. And I imagine that you know, they weren't necessarily saying, "Got to watch the ball. We've got to be focused," because it's just a couple of plays. But there they've just been reminded, and I'm sure that will now be at the front of their minds again as we go into these coming plays.
You've got to be careful as a coach not to just give cliche quotes at half-time. You know, to give genuine advice. They run up the left-hand side here, maybe finds a bit of a crease, and does he get a first down? He gets awfully close to the first down marker, but I'm not quite so sure he got the first down. Maybe definitely gained a few yards, but that's going to bring up about 4 yards to go. Now, you've got to be careful to make sure you actually give the right specific advice and not just give cliche quotes. And a lot of coaches tend to do that and think that they're doing the job, but you've got to actually speak to your players, and you've got to know what they did wrong. And there's a lot of it's very easy to make that mistake. It's very easy to come out at half-time and realise that you haven't actually delivered anything. And the real telling to it is how the defence comes out to adjust in the second half compared to the first half. And 7 gets that first down. He gets down to the 10-yard line. Number 48, sorry.
Yeah, and I think you're making an interesting point there. So I'll quickly finish up. I think it's important as a coach to remember that there's only so many things that your players can remember, and there's only so many points you can give. There's only so many adjustments you can make. It's all about, you know, the things that you've practiced.
I think it's 25-6.
26-6.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's 26-6.
Someone saying that the ref said it's 25-6.
I don't think it'd be 25, but it was 20. They scored 2, it was 14, got to 20.
And so it's first down here. Trips out to the right.
Now, Stitt zips one out to his right, and that's caught by Ricard, who managed to wiggle his way forward for a couple of yards, and there's a couple of yards for the extras. That's going to bring out some flags, and that's going to give Rushmoor some extra yards on top of that.
And yeah, I think you can see that the sideline. They clearly are sort of they know it's unnecessary. It's just frustration boiling over at this point, given the score. Gotta stay locked in and focused. And if you've got that kind of energy, use that positively. Use that between the whistles. Make a big play.
Gotta make a play with that energy. You know, that was number 2 pen with a couple of after extras. I guess the tabloids tomorrow morning will be saying the pen was leaking, but that's their job to come up with the punchlines, and it's our job to talk about the plays. And this is going to be another first down for the Rushmoor Knights here on the 14-yard line. I stand corrected. Not on the 14-yard line.
The chains are having a little bit of.
Chains are coming down. It's first and goal from the 7, half the distance to the goal.
Let's go, D!
If anyone wants to know my money, it's on a throw to a slant to the slots at some point.
So when they get that run and they're going to get into the end zone, finds a crease, finds his way. That's another 6 for the Rushmoor Knights. And at this point, you're starting to look at the question, how many more will they be able to put on?
And you can really feel a massive change in the energy here. The Portsmouth sideline is very subdued. Like, clearly they were not happy that this is how they've come out of the half. They obviously wanted to be able to stop them, and they've let them go down the field. And in comparison, the Rushmoor sideline's obviously got quite a lot of energy, clearly quite sort of happy and jokey about things. And it's going to take a real strong string of plays to be able to shift the energy and put the momentum back into Portsmouth's favour to try and mount a comeback in what's now a 4-score game.
No, Stitt rolls out to his left. He's been chased down by Penn here. 2 against 2. Rolls out, throws one deep, and that's broken up well by the defender, number 35. Yeah, intended for the running back who came out there on the scene, but didn't quite make it down to him. It was a brilliant defensive play.
Yeah, it was good. It was good pressure there off the edge from Portsmouth. A bit surprising just how the play was executed. It seemed like the quarterback almost had it in his head straight away that he kind of wanted to roll out, and it seemed like that wasn't the routes that were initially sort of designed into that play. They weren't necessarily weren't a fit for him rolling out to try and make you try and throw back across your body, trying to throw sort of towards the inside of the field. That's never really going to work. We saw that's exactly how the Portsmouth QB was picked off earlier on in the game.
Definitely, yeah.
It's one. It sounds very insignificant, but those are definitely things that they kind of need to tighten up in terms of their execution. When for a team like this, they're going to be top of the division almost. Pretty much set in stone at this point, and that's where they're going to be. They're going to have a home playoff game, but those sort of little things are going to be important if they're going to be a team that's going to be successful in a playoff run.
I thought they did.
31-6.
Yeah, 6:31.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Did they get the
first score? The Knights did. They didn't convert.
I thought they did. Interesting.
And so we've had the score confirmed. It's 31-6. I believe the PAT there was an PAT that was not successful earlier that we thought was. So it's 31-6. So 26-point game. 20.
Ooh, that's a live ball. Never recovered that. Well recovered there. As I was saying previously, it'd be interesting to see if the Portsmouth the Portsmouth coaches try to instill the whole sort of it's 0-0, don't worry about the score sort of thing along with the team, or if they really just went along with it, because at the end of the day, yes, there was a late score. Yes, there's been an early score, but how are they going to respond to this early score here? We've seen their defense. We've seen, they had a good stop before the flag. They showed that they were a lot more positive, and now we're about to see the offense as the quarterback hands off to number 3, and he has absolutely swarmed in the backfield. But he finds his way through, wiggles his way forward, turns a loss into a gain. And I think they're going to gain a couple of yards on this play.
Yeah, and I think the O-line needs to come out. I think the O-line's a unit that can really kind of maybe spark a change in momentum and a change in energy here, because I think that they did show some signs of life in that run game in the first half. If these guys can come out and put on a dominant performance, start handling business up front, then maybe they're able to start changing the tide, as we see a nice little pass out to the flats there to number 86 to get the ball moving on first down. And there looks to be an injured player, but he's getting back up, so maybe he just took a little bit of a hit on that tackle.
Get up, and the referees are just there double checking. I think there's some signals for him to come off. He seems to be very slow to get up, and the referees are just liaising with him, and he seems to be getting hooked now. I think they're going to check him. Someone's come in, so he's going to have to come out.
Because I could have sworn that they went. I thought I saw the ball go through the upright. I didn't even see the rest of it.
I wasn't, because I was trying to pick.
And so Portsmouth come out with trips to the left into the boundary, a tight end on his own on the right side, and it looks like an attempted Statue of Liberty handoff, but the players weren't all on the same page there, as they were lucky not to have the ball fumbled on the handoff. QB taking a hit as it sets up 4th and 8 as the punt team is looking to come out for Portsmouth.
Now it's a good stop there by Rushmoor. Big stop on the first defensive play for them on this drive. It gives them a lot more confidence. They've only let Portsmouth into. They've only really had red zone territory once, and they've only scored once. And it'd be interesting to get the ball back and see what they can do here as a flag comes out, possibly a false start. There's a little bit of distance on that punt, but not a lot of hang time at all. Was that caught by the ball?
Looked like it still rolled down to about the 10-15 yard line though, so not a bad punt all in all.
Gets off a fairly decent practice run before the reel. Now he's got an extra 5 yards to play with. You ever thought about punting? You ever thought about punting or special teams kicking?
I used to be a punter. I was a special teams MVP in my time at university. I enjoyed punting very much. I didn't have a lot of distance, but trust me, I'm punting from if I'm punting from your 40, you're getting pinned back.
It's interesting. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Love to hear any special teams comments from any viewers if you're watching. If you've got any stories to tell us. Good stories, bad stories. We want to hear it all. As this ball's recovered around about the 5-yard line, and a good couple of moves put on as he shakes and bakes his way through towards the 15, maybe 20-yard line.
Yeah, and it does feel like a game that has it has almost died out in a way now. You can feel the energy from both sides, and the players towards each other. I don't necessarily know how to put it into words, but it feels like they're kind of going at each other, but there's also like a
The P word.
that is
yes.
friendly, yeah.
The P word. The correct term would be pusillanimous.
Yes. Many people know that word.
Not a lot of people do know that word, but for those of you wondering, it means timid and cowardly. I think
I'm very happy you used that word. It's a good way to put it.
I think it'll be interesting because it's almost as if when you say the energy's almost died out, it's like both sets of teams, both sets of coaches, both sets of players have almost understood, they mutually understand the outcome of this game at this point. And now it's
I'm not a fan of that, because like we just saw Portsmouth come out and make a big play. They've literally just moved them back like 3 yards on first down there when they turned over the ball. That sideline should be up. You know, maybe it's just because the offensive unit is huddling. But
I think maybe
hopefully the sidelines bring a bit of energy back into this game, because I think there's still quite a lot of football left to be played.
Bit of both, definitely. I think it could be also a case of maybe rotating some players, getting some of the less experienced guys some game time in a game like this. Once the result is already sorted, you know, you sort of maybe in the fourth quarter maybe would do that if the game is completely gone by then. But once there's an opportunity to still come back, I think you're going to keep your starters out. You're going to keep your strongest squad out there. You're going to give yourself every chance to try and maximise your gains on every single play, because there is no room for error for Portsmouth right now in the game like this. They are now 4 scores down. They are going to need to score possibly on every drive going on for the rest of the game, given how Rushmoor's offense are playing. They will need to get some stops. They will need probably some defensive scores. But I think if they keep their heads up, they can definitely get something.
Well, let's see what they can do here. As Calvin Stitt looks to drop back, he throws to his receiver, Alex Wyatt, on the backside with that slant, and he's able to get a completion. Portsmouth player on the floor there, so we will have a referee's timeout as he gets tended to. So we'll be looking at 1st and 10 from the 30. Obviously, Portsmouth started off with nice play to start the drive, backing them up, but now Rushmoor have found their footing and are starting to move the ball a bit. Rushmoor still seem to have pretty much their whole starting unit in. Obviously, we don't necessarily know the depth that they have at different positions, but just generally, so when do you start thinking about rotating guys in when you're up when you're down as well? Because obviously there does get to be a time when maybe a comeback seems out of reach. But when do you sort of mark that, or is it play it by ear?
I think it's much easier to rotate players in when you're winning, because you know the score is positive. If something goes wrong, you know you can still put your starters in and try to finish out the game before you bring your backups back in. But when you're losing, it's a case of, you know, you're chasing the game. If your starters can't get the job done and you put your backups in, you don't really want to expose them too much to anything, you know. But at the same time, you want to give them the opportunity to play. You want to give them the game time, and they've got the opportunity to grow. You know, the guys, a lot of the time, the guys who are backups are maybe the younger guys and the guys who are arguably the future of the team. So you've always got to make sure that you're rotating well, and that's something that the coaches have to really, really decide amongst themselves. An important thing is, what you probably don't want to do is put all of your backups in together at the same time, maybe unless you're up by a huge amount, you know, 4 scores, 5 scores and going. But as a defensive team, maybe you're looking at sort of some of the guys who have been exposed out here today. Maybe it's time for them to sort of like sit the rest of the game, put some of your backups in, maybe throw them in a deep end, given sort of the gulf in the quality between the two teams. But there's only one way or the other, you know. There's only one way that these kids are going to improve, and that's by playing against better teams. So you've got to throw them in against the best that they can come up against, and you've got to hope that they can, you know, at that moment it's sink or swim, and you just got to hope that they swim.
Well, we'll see what can happen here as we are now looking at 2nd and 3 after that play. Quarterback running a speed option, flips out to number 48, Harvey Macy, and he's able to get a good gain. As it looks like he might have got the first down there. Chains are moving, so yes, able to get a first down. Nice to see something a little bit different there from the Rushmoor offense. We haven't seen them run that speed option before. They've got two great athletes in the backfield, so it is a weapon that we may see them use a bit more going forward.
Definitely, they've got some size and speed in the backfield, and those running backs there, they've shown that they can be versatile and do it all. You know, they've shown that, so it's not so one-dimensional when you see a certain running back of a certain size or a certain build coming in. You almost know what's happening. They can keep the defense guessing, and that's good for them because of that variety and not having to switch guys out. The versatility is really what's going to take them quite far into their playoff hunt, you know, given that they almost inevitably will go on to go 6-0 after this.
Worth noting as well that missing today is their running back, Aaron Sequila, one of the members of the GB men's squad. So we've seen some pretty talented running back play from them already, and I'm sure as they get sort of close to that playoff run, he might be available and feature more. So definitely a strong running attack they're bringing to the table as we're looking at 2nd and 8 now. Once again, Rushmoor offense coming out in their spread look, still got their starters in on this drive as they throw out quickly to number 89, Stephen Godfrey, who makes first man miss, but he is not able to get away from the corner, and he has the referee there quite emphatically throwing that flag late for the late hit out of bounds. Portsmouth head coach definitely asking why that was thrown, as it seemed like maybe it was just a continuation of a tackle inbounds, but Portsmouth will be losing an extra 15 after that play, and yeah, you just can't get yourselves into these situations where you're attacking on these extra yards like this.
When you're chasing the game like this, drawing needless flags like that is just absolute poison to your team. It's just going to absolutely kill the momentum. You know, your defense could be trying to make a stop here. You're currently backs against the wall, and any flags here is just potentially giving away a free score.
Well, we'll see what they can do with it here, as they're now on the 17-yard line. The action's right nicely in front of us, so we're able to get a nice close look up of these two teams right here. And it looks like Rushmoor are coming out once again with their spread formation, and we will see what they do here on 1st and 10. Running back to the quarterback's right, hands the ball off to him. Number 30 tries to get a couple of yards, met there by a couple of Portsmouth defenders, number 47 and number 2 in to make the tackle, forcing 2nd and 9. I'm not expecting it to make too much of a difference. Rushmoor have been fairly consistent whether or not they've managed to get good yardage on first down, still converting and moving the chains quite often on these previous drives. As they come out here on 2nd down, running back Harvey Macy has now moved into the slot as they come out with the running back to the quarterback's left. Sends him in motion, and they will hand it off to him on a jet sweep, but he's immediately met in the backfield, manages to brush off a tackle and get back, nearly back to the line of scrimmage, but not able to seal off the edge there on that jet sweep.
Yeah, maybe he's going to lose about a yard or so, maybe half a yard. Might seem to have marked it back around about the same spot, but they're going to respot that a little bit further back. Yeah, he's going to lose about a yard on that play, and it just seems to me that like the short yardage stuff, you know, the stuff in the trenches, Portsmouth are really strong there. They're really strong at stopping the obvious inside run. You know, it just seems to me that the other things that Rushmoor are offering are too strong for Portsmouth, and we'll wait and see if they run the ball here. They're going to pass the ball here. This is a strength of theirs.
And that pass is overthrown as they go back to try and get Travis Carpenter on the outside fade. And that will bring up 4th down for the Rushmoor offense. 4th and 10. No movement from their sideline, so it doesn't seem like they're going to go for a field goal. It looks like they're going to leave their offense out and they're going to try and convert.
Going to try and really put this game to bed at this point. You know, keeping your offense on the field when your 4 scores up is really a statement of essentially how big are my biceps.
It might also be a special team statement as well. As quarterback drops out, rolls out to his preferred left, and it hits number 35 in the face cage and bounces out of bounds. as he was not able to pick the ball off, but they have managed to get the turnover on downs. So as now Portsmouth will be coming back out onto the field on offence at their own 18-yard line with a new set of downs.
Arguably the preferred option. Arguably the preferred option, because if number 35 had picked that off, he's going straight out of bounds just inside his own 10. So couple of positive yards there.
Number 11, run into your box, please.
It's, one of the players here gets a bit of a telling off from one of the referees. Now, Portsmouth's offense is on here. 1st and 10 from their own 18.
And he's met in the backfield there. Looks like number 97, Luke Scadden, was able to come in and make the play. And we saw Portsmouth's offense was they started to build up some momentum in the run game, but early on in this first half, they don't seem to have been able to have carried that momentum forward. As they now come down, 2nd down, they come out in a trips look to the left with a tight end. And the quarterback rolls out to the left, looking for a target down the field, finds number 86, tight end, and he is tackled out of bounds. And not quite able to get a 1st down, I don't think. But positive play there, setting up 3rd and short for this Rushmoor, the Portsmouth offense.
Yeah, it's a good positive play from Portsmouth there. Getting a good few yards, maybe getting about 10 yards on that one, and able to stop the clock around about 3 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Now, big play here coming up.
So the quarterback drops back, puts the ball in the stomach of number 37, Samir Hassan, who is tackled short of the sticks, as multiple players there for the Rushmoor defense coming in to swarm, and it looks like they will be punting the ball away. So they had some positive momentum off the back of that good 2nd down play action play, but they are unable to move the chains, and they're bringing out the punt unit again. And unlikely to be able to put the Rushmoor Knights back in deep territory. Likely, probably going to give Rushmoor good field position here.
Potentially, yeah. We'll just wait and see if Rushmoor are able to put this one away now. A late comer onto the field. Referees are okay with that. Now, Mothorpe to get this one away.
Decent snap. Ball is gone. And it's recovered by the personal protector, but he is met by a gang of dreadnoughts trying to rip the ball away, but they are unable to. So good play to bring the ball in, but unable to find any yards there after the reception. And so the Rushmoor Knights will take the ball at, it looks to be the 35-yard line. Are making some rotations here. Notably, the quarterback, Calvin Stitt, going to earn himself a rest after putting up 4 touchdowns on the day. And James Bigger, number 13, the backup quarterback, coming in to try and keep the momentum going for them on offense as they come out with a trips to the left, running back to the quarterback's right.
It's always good when you can put your backup in here.
And the handoff to Harvey Macy out towards the left on the outside zone run. He breaks many tackles and he manages to get to the edge. He just about steps out of bounds, but managed to blow by about 4 Dreadnoughts defenders before that. Looks to be about 2nd and 8. 2nd and 3.
If they can get that seal on that last guy, he would be off to the races, because it was just a little step out of bounds. You know, if he was able to really take that step and just not, you know, if he was able to cut in. But it just shows the potency of the offense here that Rushmoor Knights have. You know, they're able to bring in their backups, the backup quarterback, you know.
And so he's here to take the snap, and not everybody was on the ball with the cadence as number 73, the right tackle, full started. So they're going to be moved back here, looking at about 2nd and 8, but can't imagine that will dampen their momentum on this drive, as they've been very effective on the last few drives. Not able to quite find the end zone, but they have looked strong here in this second half.
I was going to say, I was at the Olympians game a few weeks ago when they played against Norwich Devils at home, and it just showed when they brought their QB2 and eventually QB3 in as well, they did not skip a beat. You know, they kept their foot on the gas, and it just shows when you have backups that can come in and keep their foot on the gas, you're in good hands at that point.
And so the low snap is recovered, handed off to Harvey Macy, once again looking to get to the outside on the left, and he manages to get forward for a few yards, setting up third and short. We've seen the Rushmoor Knights go with quite a few different options on these third downs. We've seen them be able to run the ball, we've seen them throw the ball, they've run some option as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they look to attack this third down here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting here because they've gained a good few yards on these first few downs. Are they going to run the same play? Are Portsmouth going to see it come in? You know, it looks to me that they look a bit light now, Portsmouth, up the middle. So are Rushmoor going to exploit that and go up the middle?
And so they go on two this time. Quarterback looking out to his left, trying to get Matthew Ricard on the corner, but he's not able to as he's he's double covered there by both the cornerback and the safety. And so fourth, and it looks to be about 3 or 4 yards. No movement from the punt team here, so it looks like the offense will be trying to convert. They're nearly at midfield, so will be a good field position for Portsmouth if they're able to hold them here.
I think in this position, Rushmoor are already looking towards the playoffs. They're already thinking about it, thinking about their fourth down defense in the playoffs, because the game may be done, but they will probably trust their defense to do the work, to get the job done, as they maybe just about get the first down here and keep the chains moving. But I think they trust their defense enough. Yeah, the chains are going to move. They trust their defense enough to be able to get the job done if they don't convert. So it's a case of practice your fourth down efficiency and get ready for the playoffs at this point, because you know, if you know you've got, they may or may not have a punter. We don't know. They may or may not have a kicker. We don't know, but you could be looking at maybe another first down and you're into field goal territory. Are they going to start bringing out a kicker at this point? They've gone for it on fourth down before and converted enough times, so maybe they just have the confidence to do it.
And so it looks to be the end of the third quarter, so we're going into the fourth quarter.
12%. Might just about make it.
Depends on the plays, man. If they're running it, they're good. Sorry?
And so we're ending the third quarter here, so we're going to the flip sides of the field as we go into the fourth quarter. The score is 31-6 in favour of the Rushmoor Knights against the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. So it would be very impressive if they are able to make a comeback here. But Rushmoor have done a good job in this second half, keeping their foot on the gas and moving the ball down the field and still coming up with stops on defence as well, playing with a good level of aggression on that side of the ball. And so Rushmoor setting up on the Portsmouth 38-yard line as they are going to be, or the chains are moving, sorry, so it's going to be on the 41-yard line, it looks to be, as they will have first and 10 to start the fourth quarter.
First and 10 from the 41-yard line. So it's a hand up the middle, and it's just going to bulldoze his way to about a 2-yard gain.
And so no likeliness this time. We saw them have some good success on those outside runs towards the end of the third quarter, but tried to go inside there and not quite able to find a lane, and that will bring up 2nd and 8 for this Rushmoor offense. So they come out here in trips to the right. You can see a couple of new receivers in for them, but the same Harvey Macy still in the backfield for them. Tried to go on 2, low snap, quarterback pulls it out, manages to get a throwaway to the outside to number 85. He is met by a number of Dreadnoughts defenders as they manage to make the tackle, and that forces 3rd and medium for this Rushmoor team.
I was just looking at it, and that defender on that hitch, the defender got so low on that tackle, he could have easily been stepped over. He could have. I'm just thinking about it. If I were in that position, what would I have done, sort of thing. And it's like, don't get me wrong, great tackle form, fantastic tackle form, got him down. You know, just look at it like, you know, a very athletic slot receiver there would have left him in the dust.
And so the quarterback looking to make a conversion here as QB drops back, looks out to his right, and he's picked off by number 45 as he's able to jump the route and make a play on the ball out by the sideline there. And that's a big play for this Portsmouth defence. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, but if the offense can put something together on this drive here, suddenly Rushmoor could find themselves a bit flat-footed in this game.
I mean, it's an interesting play, you know, that one there could really turn the tides, but it begs the question, too little, too late. They needed a pick earlier in the game. They needed a pick maybe during the second quarter. But nonetheless, you've got a turnover, you've got to take away, and this is a big plus, big plus for the Portsmouth defence. You know, we've seen how strong Rushmoor's offence are throughout the game, throughout the season, to be honest. And a big turnover here is definitely a positive for the Portsmouth defence. They're going to be absolutely buzzing after that. And here's an opportunity for their offence to come out as a...
And they try to make a play by going to the reverse. Number 85 taking the ball out to the right-hand side. He's met by the cornerback coming down to make the tackle for a minimal gain. But early signs of aggression from the Portsmouth offense there. So we need to pick up your energy, Kwame. This could be the best comeback we see all year. You never know. It's not looking that way so far, but it always might be. You just got to be a believer.
No, I don't have the statistics, and I'm not sure if LL Cool P is watching, but I'm not too sure what the greatest comeback in Brit Ball history is. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you know, another 2-yard gain. If they get a first down here,
but this is good to see.
We've got 4 or 5 onside kicks, but I mean, anything is possible.
Hey, we got some more. We were talking in the third quarter how the game went into a bit of a malaise. Whereas now, you know, we've had a few big plays here. We can hear some noise from the Portsmouth sideline again. Hopefully that'll bring the Rushmoor sideline back into it as well, and just create a little bit more energy, because it did feel like the game was sort of starting to slide away, just sort of drift off gracefully into the end of the fourth quarter. But a little bit more action from both sides wouldn't go amiss.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did seem like, you know, sort of both teams were settled into accepting what the result was going to be. And maybe, I don't know if you could say accepting the score, because both teams were still out there to score more touchdowns. Both defenses were out there to stop both teams and maybe score touchdowns of their own. But it's definitely picked up a little bit, and there's been a bit more action here. Big plays, turnovers, you know. We still know what the result's going to be, but Portsmouth, to keep going, to keep pushing, you know, when the game has gradually obviously slipped away from them, especially towards the end of the first half, for them to keep their heads up and keep going is quite credible, to be honest. And so far in the second half, to ignore the score of the first half, so far in the second half it's only 7-0. Or was it 6?
The score is 31-6.
It was 25-6 at half time, wasn't it?
Yeah, they've only allowed one touchdown since the break. So it's been a competitive second half from the teams. But using this little lull in the action, we'll have a little look in a second at how it's still early. There's still a lot of games to be played. We can have a little look at how the playoff picture is beginning to shape up in the Division 1 South. As they throw the ball out to 85 on a double pass. They throw the ball out to number 27, and he gets over the top and he scores the touchdown. The referee did not seem to notice that he stepped out of bounds of his own will as he was running down the field, but the rule of cool comes into play as the touchdown is allowed to stand, and number 27 there making the big play to swing the tides a little bit.
Double pass on that play. Lakan Oladele says, "See you later." Doesn't matter if it's too little, too late. There's always time to bring out a big play, and that there is going to be a huge positive for their offense. It's going to give them huge amounts of confidence. Now we're about to see if they can get an extra point, or see if they're potentially going for 2. Looks to me that they're going for 2 here. This is just going to be a heavy play, snapped straight to Daniel Thatcher, and he's going to be brought down just outside the end zone, and he's not going to make it. Extra 2 points, no good.
And so that now makes the score 31-12. So it's now in the territory where if the defence can stand strong, they can get a score, and we could be looking at a comeback. But as they go to set up the kickoff here, so looking at the playoff picture as it starts to form, it looks like we've got a couple of teams that will definitely be looking to like they will secure a place in the southwest division, with Bristol Apache undefeated in that division. In the east, we have the East Kent Mavericks, also undefeated, as well as it looks to be the Rushmoor Knights, currently undefeated, hoping to go 6-0, once this game concludes. So those teams will all be looking at a home playoff game, most likely. We have a few teams that look like they could be in the battle for the 4th seed, with South West Wales Warriors, the Wembley Stallions, and the Olympians. And there's quite a few 2-2, 2 and 3 teams spread across the division. So the battle for the sort of lower wildcard spots will be interesting as we go through the rest of the season. And so we have the touchback there, sets up 1st and 10 from the 20, and this is a somewhat important drive, I feel, for this Rushmoor offense, because they do need to find their energy again. They do need to move the ball a bit, because if they do sort of stall out here and Portsmouth's able to find another score, and suddenly the game is a bit different.
Suddenly heads are being scratched and questions are being asked. I mean, counted there's probably about 10 minutes to go in the game. Do you think that Portsmouth are going to run that same play again 3 times and Rushmoor would fall for it 3 times?
The referee might spot you went out of bounds if they run it again, but
You never know. I mean, they got an interception last drive. Get a stop here so far. Makes no gain. It almost sounded like a full-time whistle. That definitely was way too early.
Yeah, and I think it's important that Rushmoor bring some fight on this drive, because you saw there the quarterback was sort of saying, come on, the play's over, like, we don't need that extra effort. I think that Rushmoor need to bring the juice on this drive, because if they start to fall away and they start to feel like the game is over, then Portsmouth might be able to just come and punch them in the mouth and remind them that you've got to play 4 quarters. As they come out here on 2nd and 11, coming out in spread here. Quarterback takes the handoff, hands it off to number 30, trying to run up the inside, runs into the back of his own lineman as he is swallowed up by number 2 in the backfield, and that will bring up 3rd and 11 and 13 even. And once again, this is a big play coming up here in the grand scheme of things.
Squeaky bum time part of this game, and it really makes you think. We've seen some good stops from Portsmouth. We've seen some good stops. 2nd down, 3rd down stops. Rushmoor have made every 4th down bar 1. And you really start to look at it now, and it's like, if they've been able to do this the whole game, if they've been able to stop Rushmoor earlier in the game, put themselves in a much better position.
And we may see this time, he is unable to make the play. A little bit of afters as it. While a Portsmouth player initially looked to be just trying to break things up, and whenever you start adding more bodies, whenever more people come to the party always gets a bit out of hand.
That was an interesting way of breaking things up. I mean, personally, if someone came to break things up and grabbed me by the collar and swung me around, I'd have a lot of questions to ask. But hey, if that's breaking things up.
The one I always think about is when I think it was Charles Barkley said that he thought that Larry Bird was a peacemaker, but actually he ended up grabbing the back of his arms and holding him, and it had his teammate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I might have got the parties the wrong way around, but yeah,
a few times back in school.
And it's so a big 4th down here, 4th and 3 coming up. They run a freeze play, can't get him to jump offside, hand it off to the running back out to the left, and he's brought down, and they make the play as they're able to turn them over. The outside zone run has been working a lot in that sort of first half, definitely towards the end of the 3rd quarter it was working, but not able to get the penetration up front that they wanted. And So now they're looking at 1st and 10 from the 28-yard line. They're down a couple of scores, but if they can get a score here, as we said, you know, it does change the complexion of the game. I don't know how much time's on the clock, but we will see. We will see what happens here, as the momentum is definitely with the Dreadnoughts. As they come out here, a bit spread look, tight end to the right, quarterback takes a snap, and he looks like a bit of miscommunication there.
That was interesting. That was interesting because I saw number 27 run an orbit motion and go back around the quarterback. Was that supposed to be a swing to him? Was that intended for someone else and someone else didn't understand the play? Was there meant to be a reverse in there? There was definitely some trickery involved, and we'll wait and see what happens on this play because everyone seems to be lined up on that left-hand side and there seems to be nobody on this right side. So
they go trips left, nub tight end. Quarterback drops back, looks out to number 27. He's able to make a man miss and he runs through and he's stopped short of the first down, but looks to... And he's been given a first down.
Forward progression from the football. I think maybe the football was just about, maybe the nose of the ball was just about at the first down marker.
And so they will have a first down. Looks to be in about the 18-yard line. Portsmouth offense playing with some tempo now, going with trips to the right. See what that nub tight end to the left. They snap the ball. Quarterback's looking out to his right. Finds number 27 on a hitch route. Trying to shake the cornerback. Comes to make a play and the ball is out on the hit. Number 0 recovers it. Makes a man miss. He's running down the sideline.
He's still in bounds.
And there is a crackback block, so the play will not stand.
He's still in bounds. All the way to the end zone.
The play will not stand. The touchdown will not stand. There were a couple of flags there for crackback blocks. We'll see how those are assessed. But Rushmoor will get the ball back after the big hit to knock the ball loose on that throw there to number 27.
Now that was an interesting sequence of plays there because it looked like Portsmouth were getting something on that 4th down stop. You know, they had a couple of good plays. Inching their way in, it looked like they had some sort of trick up their sleeve and something was going to go right. But again, getting the ball into their strong players' hands, into their playmakers, I guess his hands were just too hot because that fumble was possibly the worst possible timing. You know, any chances of a comeback are almost completely evaporated at this point, unless they get the ball straight back. You know, because that was insane. You know, but at the end of the day, they've got a lifeline because that would have been a 95-yard return. That would have absolutely iced the game. So they've got a bit of a lifeline here in the sense that they've stopped Rushmoor just a minute ago. They've got an opportunity to do it again. Can they stop Rushmoor this time? Can they turn the ball over within good territory? Rushmoor haven't punted yet.
And so we will see what Rushmoor can do here as they come out on 1st and 10 right in front of us on the 15-yard line, coming out with a spread look. Quarterback's dropping back, looking for his receiver over the middle, number 6, and he's unable to connect. Looks like he was trying to lead him to the outside. Receiver was obviously running his route to the inside. Saw that exact same thing happen earlier on in this game. Even in a game where they're comfortably winning, there's still a lot of things they can iron out in their offense going forward. As they will now huddle on 2nd and 10 at about the 15-yard line, and it's important for this offense to still try and execute, given what we said, where they are in the game. And so they will come out in their spread look again. Quarterback drops back, looks out to his left, tries to throw it out to number 89, Stephen Godfrey, but a little bit out of distance, out of reach for him. So very quickly, without burning any time off the clock, we're now looking at 3rd and 10. And if this Rushmoor offense is once again not able to convert, Portsmouth going to keep getting opportunities, it seems, to try and move the ball down, trying to put some points in the Rushmoor end zone.
It just seems to me these last 2 drives haven't really gone too well for them. I mean, obviously, the last drive, they were too soft up front. They weren't able to get the penetration that they needed. And now they're throwing the ball all over the place, but they're just not accurate. They're just not finding their receivers now. Big third down play here.
So they hand off to Harvey Macy out to the left. He is tackled. He gains about 6 yards there, down to the 21-yard line. So it will bring up 4th and 4. The punt team is coming out, so it looks like Portsmouth will be getting the ball back. Probably not a lot of time on the clock, but we still haven't had the 2-minute warning yet. 3 scores might be a big ask for them, but at least 1 score definitely could still be on the cards.
It's an interesting one. So maybe they do have a punter. It's their running back. They've brought him out. You know, they've brought out some visibly strong leg power at the back.
Clean snap, clean punt. Not a lot of distance on it, as it is an end-over-end punt. Ball takes a friendly bounce, but not a lot of distance on that bounce. So it looks like the punt will be down to around midfield. So Portsmouth will only have to drive the ball about of the field to find themselves in the end zone. So important drive for both units. We've seen some positive play in Portsmouth. They put up a score on the drive before the most recent one. Positive yardage on that drive before being turned over. This Rushmoor defence does seem to be stalling, not necessarily bringing the fight to them.
Yeah, I think this Rushmoor defence, when you look at it right now, they've done most of the work in the first half, and I think I'm not sure if they're just sort of getting a bit complacent, getting a bit lazy, because the result is, you know, there's very little chance of Portsmouth coming back, and they don't seem to be putting things together. They've made a few mistakes here and there, but for the most part, they've been efficient enough. You know, they've been good enough to stop Portsmouth for the most part, barring a mistake and a trick play.
And so the quarterback drops back here, looks for his receiver down the sideline. He finds number 85, who's wide open, and he's going to get into the end zone for the touchdown.
Hello.
As number 0 flops on the floor.
Welcome back into the game.
That is now a 2-score game. So backup quarterback comes in, throws a touchdown on only his second play, and now the game is a little bit more alive. Remember, that's Pedro. That's Pedro. So good.
Scored.
If you want some credit for your touchdown, then make sure your name's on the roster next time as Pedro, number 85.
Tell us your government, or we'll make one up.
And so they come out now with their 3 fullback look to try and score the 2-point conversion. I do kind of like this trend I've seen in Britball on 2-pointers, where they sort of put everybody in a phone booth and just try and run some power or something at them. It's interesting to see, but big 2-point conversion for them here as well. So the score was previously 31-12. It's now 31-18, so it would be a 13-point game. If they're able to get the 2-point conversion, it's now an 11-point game, which means that if they were to get a couple of touchdowns, then they will take the lead. And if they are able to get any extra points after that, then, you know, that can just change the difference whether they need a touchdown or a field goal to keep up with them. But obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves there. We're very wistfully hoping that there are two more scores from them to make it a tight game. Rushmoor obviously hoping that's not the case. But we will see what happens here as we come out for a 2-point conversion. Ball is snapped. They run a counter to the left-hand side, but he is brought down short of the line to gain. So it will be a 31-18 scoreline. So 13-point difference here.
It really does make me question it sometimes, because when you play a formation like this, it becomes very obvious what you're going to run, you know. And granted, you only need 2 yards to score, but it's one-dimensional. It's very obvious. So when all 11 players know exactly what you're going to run, it becomes a lot easier to stop it, man. 10 blockers, 10 guys being blocked, 1 free guy. You know, it's just... I'm not surprised that they didn't score from that play. But, you know, they could run... If they had some... I gather maybe they felt that they had a bit more confidence to run that and get a couple of yards because they need, you know, gain something. But sometimes, you know, you've got to be a bit more creative.
This is your public service announcement to remind you that sometimes your normal offense can still work on the tee. But I also do appreciate seeing the creative looks that teams come up with for their 2-point plays. As we kick off here, number 0 with a good kick-off to the back of the end zone, recovered by Stephen Godfrey, and he's looking for a lane out to the right-hand side. He finds a little lane through the middle, and he is eventually tackled down at what looks to be about the 28-yard line, but not quite able to find any more space after that. So the Rushmoor offense will be coming back out with the ball on their 27-yard line. Looks like they may have made a change at quarterback, as they have brought their starter Calvin Stitt back in, which maybe shows us that we were right to think we have a game on our hands.
A couple of the nerves were settling in on their sideline, and they thought maybe we have to, put a couple of drives together, because they didn't gain anything on those last 2 drives. So maybe bring the starter back in and just sort of restore a bit of order.
And so they hand off up the middle to Harvey Macy, number 48. He follows his guard through as he's able to gain about what looked to be about 7 yards. So moving the ball nicely to start off this drive. This is an important drive. They can end the game here if they want to. If they can control the clock, they can move the ball at this kind of pace. But we have seen him get backed up a few times.
Something really jumps out to me, and as soon as they put the starter in, it looks like the run game has opened up, because the defense have to account for the arm of Calvin Stitt. They have to account for him. So now the run game has opened up because they're not so focused on the run and stopping the run, because they're not as worried about the arm of the backup quarterback. Now that's just something that shows in when Calvin Stitt comes back into the game. All of a sudden, gaps just open up everywhere. They got used to the other guy who did throw a touchdown pass. I believe he did throw a touchdown pass. I may be wrong, but he threw some good passes. But I think they started to get a bit confident and started to understand him a bit more. Whereas Stitt is a bit more versatile. He has that extra dimension, and because of that, maybe defense is a bit more hesitant to go diving in because they'll get exposed.
Calvin looks for his receiver down the sideline, number 6, and it is ruled incomplete there. Travis Carpenter received quite a few targets today. Obviously came down with a couple of touchdowns on some posts, but not able to bring that one in on the sideline. So that will set up 2nd and 10 from the 40-yard line. Only 5 yards away from getting into Portsmouth territory on this 90-yard field. And so they come out in spread, hand the ball off to Harvey Macy on that inside run. Managed to get a couple Portsmouth bodies on the floor, but the linebackers do a good job of rallying and bringing down the ball carrier, as we're now looking at 3rd down. We'll see where he is marked. Line judge setting up at the 50, suggesting that it will be a third and 6, it appears to be. And these 3rd downs do seem important, because all it takes is one big play, and suddenly Portsmouth get back on the board here. And they try to freeze, but it looks like there was a jump from the lineman. I think that will be given as a full start, but they look to be...
A couple of verbals going on between the defensive and offensive lines of Rushmoor and Portsmouth.
Number 52 has some good jokes. Not often, I'll be honest, not often I respect a linebacker talking trash, but I like that.
I love trash talk. This is coming from a defensive back who, has probably way too much stuff to say to wide receivers and all sorts. They probably don't like hearing me talk, but nonetheless, I'm not going to stop.
We don't like hearing you talk because you can't cover anything. You've got no hands, DBs and all that. But anyway, we're here as 3rd down. Quarterback looking out, looking for number 89, Stephen Godfrey on the post corner. He does complete it and gets out of bounds, so they will move the sticks here. Obviously, we'd like to stay in bounds and keep the clock churning, but 1st downs are obviously what's important there.
Yeah, keep the chains moving. Order has been restored so far. Stitt's back in the game, and they just seem to be moving the chains so much easier. So I think they've just done this to completely just cool the nerves down a little bit and ease any fears of a potential comeback, because if it had got to one score, it would be too late by then. The momentum's already turned if it gets to one score. So do it early, get in another score here, kill the game off, and we'll see maybe if they bring their backup back in.
And they hand off up the middle to Harvey Macy again. Run game seeming to stall out a little bit at the moment, as that will bring up second and long. Minimal gain of about a yard there. And it does seem like this run game is becoming a bit of a struggle for them. Maybe the offensive line getting a little bit tired as this game goes on. Portsmouth players obviously got the energy of sort of, trying to make a comeback here. So they're kind of riding high off that. And they're doing an effective job in this second half of doing rallying to the football, sort of being more aggressive on that defensive line as well. You're seeing that it's taking a number of players. They're having to secure those double teams up front. They're not able to get to those linebackers as quickly, and that's freeing up lanes for those guys to come down and make plays. It looks like there's a timeout being called, a timeout from the Rushmoor sideline, as we will have a short stop in the action.
2 minutes 50 to go, first time out the half.
So nearly at the 2-minute warning here. So it's a 2-score game. Realistically, Portsmouth need the ball back.
I don't know
how
many timeouts Portsmouth have.
They should have. I think they should have all of their timeouts, but they do need the ball back pretty much now if they want to have an opportunity to move down the field and get the points they need.
Realistically, I think with the time that's left, if you're Portsmouth and you want any chance of trying to come back into this game, you want a pick six this play right now. If they run the ball, you want a fumble return for a touchdown. We're into miracle territory, There's really no need to sugarcoat it and say that we're not, because at this point, the game has really been decided. Rushmoor just needs to keep the football, a couple of first downs. If they force Portsmouth to use all their timeouts, that would be game.
And so they hand off here out onto the left to Harvey Macy. He cuts outside and he cuts back. He goes all the way around the defense, and he is eventually brought down inside the red zone. Great job there. Ran outside to the left, gets up to the field, but then once he gets to the safeties, cuts back across them, and brought down by the last man for the Portsmouth defense.
I think he made one too many cuts there, because I think if he just darted his way and gone forward, north-south football, he probably would have made a few more yards or made it into the end zone. But one extra cut allowed a guy to undercut him, cut off the angle, and get.
I must say though, one thing that has been really impressive from what we've seen from this Rushmoor team. So you think back, so last game that they played against them, it was about, they were winning by a score or two, I think, but then at the end of the game, they put up 2 long rushes similar to that went for touchdowns to finish off the game. And we've seen here their ability to have these explosive runs later on in the game to really sort of ice things off. They're not just taking 3 or 4. They're able to say, no, we're going to go and take 50-odd yards on you on one play and just deflate your entire sideline.
Well, Portsmouth have just used a timeout just before the 2-minute warning. But in regards to what you were saying, it just shows because Rushmoor have been able to dominate possession, because they've had the ball the majority of the time against all of their opponents, they're able to wear down the defense, they're able to tire them out. And that stuff, that really goes to show towards the end of the game, because as the defenses are chasing the ball the majority of the time, as they're flowing across the field up and down, make tackles, because you've got to swarm as a defense, otherwise, But as you get towards the fourth quarter, when your defense has been on the field a very long time, people start to get tired, and you can't always rotate guys with your defense. You have to have your strongest 11 out there, So guys get tired, guys get exposed because they're tired, and it shows really when squads are quite small and when they don't have as much possession. So I'm not surprised with the late scores, given Rushmoor have a lot of the ball and probably maybe not better numbers than Portsmouth, but competitive numbers for an away game.
And so they hand off again to number 48, Harvey Macy, going out to the left. Doesn't look like he's quite got the yardage to get a first down, so it will be 3rd and short. Timeout appears to be signalled by Portsmouth, so trying to sort of get the ball back with some urgency. So that is not a Portsmouth timeout. That is the 2-minute warning here. So Portsmouth will have 2 timeouts still to use after this third down. So not a lot of timeouts to use to get themselves down the field, but it is imperative that they make a stop here, as it will pretty much be the end of the game if they're unable to keep them from getting, if they're not able to stop them from converting here. And so they will hand off to Harvey Macy again, but he is tackled. It will be interesting to see where he's spotted, as it will be very close as to whether he got the first down or not. A timeout has been signalled by Portsmouth, and he looks to be short. So this will be the game here, 4th and 1. If we can get a conversion from the Rushmoor Knights, then they will be able to kneel out the clock. If Portsmouth are able to hold them here, then they have a very, very, very small comeback opportunity. And we see them take Harvey Macy out of the backfield. They rotate him in for number 30, and big play coming up.
What do you think the odds are of Portsmouth somehow fluking this play into a...
In the interest of keeping viewers, I think it's almost 100%. You better stay tuned in and watch it. As
you better stay tuned, because anything can happen in Britball. You know?
Exactly.
This could go 89 yards.
And so number 30 in the backfield to quarterback's right. Quarterback looks to the left. He finds his slot receiver open, but is batted down there by the Portsmouth DB. Number 35 making the play.
So that wasn't fingertips away from being returned all the way.
It was not. He only got one hand to the ball. There was no way he was taking that ball, unfortunately.
Need a Glover stick him like in the 70s.
But he makes a big play nonetheless, as that will give the Dreadnoughts the slimmest of opportunities to try and come back and make this a game. Reminder that the score is 31-18, so we have a 13-point game. So if Portsmouth can go down the field and score a touchdown, get an onside kick and another touchdown, and get at least one PAT, they will be tied. As they hand the ball off early to number 37, Samir Hassan, who is swallowed up. And interesting that they went with a run play, suggests maybe they are not feeling optimistic that they will be able to make a comeback attempt here, maybe just trying to sort of see the game out competitively.
Yeah, they're looking at seeing the game out and keeping the ball at this point, because...
And so just to let you know, unfortunately, batteries are not eternal, and our battery is starting to die, so we're on about 2%. So we may tune out before officially being able to say goodbye to you, but we will be with you for as long as we can to show you the finish of this game in case there is something exciting to be seen, as they make a nice pass out to number 85, and it's 3rd down and about 3 yards.
Number 74 was signalling touchdown for some reason. Mate, you're on your own 10-yard line.
Say it with your chest to his face.
You want me to run on the field and get a flag for the
Later.
stream?
Anyway, 3rd and 3.
We've got to record from 15 yards that way.
And they go for the reverse. Hand off to number 35, who's able to make a couple people miss. He gets tackled. He looks to have got the first down. Not sure if he was able to get out of bounds or if the clock will keep going.
35 has been playing both ways. He made a signal to me earlier that he was going to get a pick. And then the ball went his direction. I think he got back down.
And so he was tackled in bounds, and the head coach has called a timeout. So there's 26 seconds on the clock, no timeouts left for Portsmouth. So it will take something of a miracle here if they are going to be able to come back in this game, but it's most likely looking as though Rushmoor will go to a healthy 6-0 on the season. They've gone up against opponents they've played before twice in the past 2 weeks and won both of those games comfortably by more than 2 scores. Portsmouth look to be moving to 2-3 on the season. Couple of wins against the bottom of the division, but no luck so far against the more competitive teams, as number 27 was able to make a play, but he is hit late. Seems to be a player down injured as well.
I think on the
in regards to comeback, you're asking a bit too much at this point. 26 seconds is probably enough time for one play running down the field, and you're not going to get an onside kick. And with no timeouts left as well, you're not going to get three perfect plays in a row. You know, it's too little, too late to ask, to be honest. But nonetheless, it's been a strong fight from Portsmouth. They've kept the score respectable. They've brought back 2 late scores. We are currently on 1%, so if we die, we die, and we will keep going. 75 shots later, we're looking at 31-18 as a scoreline.
And so the very infinitesimally small chance of a comeback has increased very slightly as 15 yards will be tacked on to the end of that play. So the ball will now be spotted on the 43-yard line of the Rushmoor Knights. I would say we've now entered Hail Mary territory. Maybe in their own half, they weren't quite there, but now in the opposition half, they might be able to throw one down to the end zone and see if maybe we can get a couple of scores. Very unlikely. Don't want to get anybody's hopes up. Don't want to mislead the viewer. But
there's something in Britball. There's something in Britball that we don't really see very often, and I've never seen somebody finish. I very rarely see somebody finish a half or a game with a field goal attempt, and that's something I'd like to see. I'd like to see them, you know, get the ball somewhere, get out of bounds here if you can.
And he tries to get out of bounds, and he does. So he manages to get, it looks to be a first down is being signalled. So the chains will move as he gets out of bounds. So still, yes, not very much time left on the clock, but they will have possession on the 33-yard line.
I would like to see a team finish with a field goal. Because in a situation like this, you're going for a 50-yarder, 33-yard line, snap it back, 10 extra yards.
You're boring, mate. Throw it to the back of the end zone.
It's not going to happen.
Well, we'll see what does happen here as the quarterback takes the snap, looks to throw the ball deep, looks to throw the ball up to 85, overthrows him as he is unable to make the play.
And
that is the end of the game, ladies and gentlemen. So the game has finished here, 31-18 in favour of the Rushmoor Knights over the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. Kwame, do you have a player of the game?
Yeah, I have a player of the game. You're going to have to remind me his name.
What number?
God damn. 48 on that team, the grey team. What's their name again? Rushmoor Knights.
Right, Harvey Macy. So Harvey Macy, club captain for the Rushmoor Knights. He is Kwame's player of the game. Thank you very much for being with us, and we hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Who is?
Dan Hatcher.
Oh yes, Dan Hatcher, who is unfortunately absent, is the MVP. But for allowing somebody else to graciously step into his place on the offensive line, you know that's a heck of a performance from him. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening. Be good this week, and we'll see you next time.